What's good? As promised, I got a video here for you, things to look out for in this upcoming Sunday. I wish I had gone back, and on Sunday I didn't have time, so I just skipped out on it, stuck with my lineups. But if I had gone back on Sunday, if I had heard the Dalvin Cook news that he was going to be out, I think I would have switched out a couple of the riskier running back plays that I had put in, and getting Latavius Murray in there could have really made my lineups that much better. Get Marshawn Lynch was a big play of mine last week, and had I been able to switch Latavius Murray for Marshawn Lynch in a couple lineups, I would have been making some big money on those. I mean, I was already, one of my lineups, I was second out of 100. So I was right there, and you get that first out of 100, and I'll play a lot of those top 12 tournaments, like top 12 people get money. But anyway, so here we go. Checked on Baker Mayfield. He was looking injured. He's not listed, so I think he's good to go. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Things you do have to worry about. Now, I went through and listed everything. I'm only going to spend time on the ones that I find to actually be relevant. Like Matt Breida was limited, but if he doesn't play, I don't play any of them. And if he does play, he's too hurt. I need him to play. If he practices all week, maybe he'll be worth it. But like Isaiah Corral too, he didn't practice on Thursday, but I really don't want to play either one of them. So the ones that are meaningful, we got Fournette. Leonard Fournette, he didn't practice on Thursday. Doesn't look like he's going to play. But then, on the other side of that would make Yeldon a pretty nice start. He doesn't have the best matchup, but it would make him startable. And on the main slate where you don't really have any options, I think he'd become a pretty nice option. But he's actually been limited as well. So if he doesn't play, Jamal Charles turns into maybe a decent tournament play, but nothing more than that. If Yeldon's out, then 50-50 lineups, there really isn't. You shouldn't be playing Jamal Charles in a 50-50 for sure. Yeldon is like borderline for me. Sony Michel was limited on Wednesday. Haven't got word on Thursday practice, but when we get into wide receivers, so many people injured in that game. So everybody on the Patriots seems to be limited. Everyone on their offense, but he's important to look at. I think, bearing the news that Khalil Mack for the Bears has not practiced yesterday or today. If he doesn't play, the Patriots, I think, get off to an early lead, and Sony Michel becomes a pretty solid play. If Khalil Mack doesn't play, which it's looking like he's not, I'll probably have Sony Michel in a bunch of lineups. If he does play, then I'll probably stay away from that game from a running back side. Either way, I'm not really looking for James White. Maybe if Sony Michel is out, that maybe makes James White a little more appealing. So keep an eye on that. Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson both were limited on Thursday. It's not really something I'm looking at for certain to play, but if one of them is held out and the other one plays, it could be something to look at. Dalvin Cook, again, so he was limited on Wednesday, but he left Thursday practice early So he started practicing and left. Not a good sign. Latavius Murray is playing the Jets in New Jersey, and he's 6,500. So it's looking like he's a good play this week. Yeah, that's a playable game for sure. But just keep an eye on Dalvin Cook. I'll give you more information on who I actually think should be played in a later video. This is just basically things to look at, to keep watch on, so that when Sunday comes, you can check on that real quick and see what's good. Big ones in the wide receiver section. There's quite a few things to look at for. The running backs, I don't think most of the stuff affects it that much, affects what your lineup should look like. But here we go on the wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins out of practice on Thursday. Kiki QT and Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins were all limited on Thursday. QT and Fuller both were also limited on Thursday. So they stayed the same, but Hopkins was limited on Wednesday, out on Thursday. It's not good to see a player get downgraded like that as the week goes on. So keep an eye on Hopkins. If he's out, the other two become somewhat interesting options in tournament play, I think, but they're still playing the Jaguars, so it's not a great matchup. The big news we got is Cooper Kupp is out for this week. So Woods and Cooks both become, you got to pick one of them, I think, and try and get one of them in your lineup. Cooks is 7,500, whereas Woods is 77. So I think I'd rather just save the $200. But yeah, with Kupp out, those targets need to go somewhere, and I think it'll be going between them two, and Gurley. So yeah, they're good to get that news now. Hopefully he comes back next week, but at least you know what to do with your lineups early on. Moving down, we got T.Y. Hilton, who was limited on Thursday. He was full on Wednesday and limited on Thursday. This one, so he went down from full on Wednesday to limited on Thursday, but he had said that he was going to take it a little easier on Thursday, and said he felt good practicing on Wednesday, better than he thought he would. So I don't think the downgrade is really a bad thing for him. It's just a thing to look out for. Chester Rogers becomes a non-play, I think, maybe in tournaments, but 50-50s, I only trust him because the reception's got to go somewhere. But if T.Y. comes back, then, I'm not really going to trust Chester Rogers. Going to the Patriots, so Edelman, limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday. Gordon, limited on Wednesday, I think also limited on Thursday. Gronk, limited on Thursday. Even saw Hogan as questionable. Couldn't really find any information on that, but I saw a questionable tag on him. So their whole receiving core is limited this week, basically. With that Khalil Mack out, that gets rid of a lot of their pass rush. That just is going to affect their defense a lot. So I don't know. This whole thing is just something to keep an eye out for. If Edelman is out, I think that raises White's value a bit. They are playing in similar roles as far as how the offense moves. If Gordon is out, I don't think it changes it too much because he only really played last week on a major role. If Gronk is out, then you got to look at the other receivers, and I think Edelman gets a boost. But yeah, that's something to pay attention to. I was trying to figure out who Marshawn Lattimore is going to cover. I think more than likely it'll be Crabtree, but I could see it being Brown too. I couldn't find a definitive answer on it, but Willie Snead becomes a really interesting play. He's been getting a lot of receptions, and whether it's Crabtree or Brown, essentially that makes him the number 2 wide receiver, because when playing the Saints, the number 1 wide receiver gets shut out of the game, essentially. We'll see if they even really do that, whether they have Lattimore shadow one or just play, rotate and play different players. But when he shadows somebody, especially when it's somebody like Crabtree or Brown, that's not this elite wide receiver, it's taking them out of the game. And so now you got to work with the 2 and the 3. And so, Brown or Crabtree, whichever one isn't shadowed, is going to become the number 1 wide receiver. So Brown is worth a look. I guess even Crabtree's worth a look, but in 50-50, I think I'd rather just save the money and go with Snead, because you're getting the number 2 wide receiver in a shootout. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to 50-50, save a little bit of money. For the Bears, we got Allen Robinson out of practice on Thursday. If he doesn't play, I think that bumps up Cohen, which I already have Cohen as, at least on the main slate, one of the running backs to play this week, going up against New England in what I think they're going to have to be, what I imagine is a game where the Bears have to catch up. So the game script seems to be in his favor, and if Allen Robinson is out, then there's quite a few receptions to be had. For Atlanta, we got Calvin Ridley and Sanu, both not practicing on Thursday, so pay attention to that. See how that shakes out. If one of them can play, they become a really interesting option. I think they'll have to rely on Julio a little more, but Jesus. I mean, Julio put up some good points last week, so you can't really hate too much, but he's just allergic to the end zone. So we got Quincy Enunwa for the Jets is out officially. So you got that. Curse is a must play at $5,000. As long as Enunwa's out, Curse stays in that stays under 6,000. He's a must play. So just lock Curse into your lineup. Willie Snead is going to be a good play. And Rashard Higgins, he was out of practice on Wednesday. It doesn't look like he's going to play. If he does, I mean, I'm not playing Callaway, but in tournaments, I think it's a good play. If Higgins plays, Callaway's definitely not a good play, but it's looking like Higgins is going to be out in case y'all were trying to go that direction. And then the only thing really in tight ends that I think is relevant is Jack Doyle over on Indy. He didn't practice Thursday. Looks like he's going to be out. If he does somehow make it back, I say that drops Ebron a decent bit. I think they're both playable, and they both could end up being number 1 tight end, like top 12 tight ends. But at least for the first week back, I'd like to see how it all shakes out before I just threw Ebron in there. Not to mention the Buffalo game doesn't seem like the best game to be playing him anyway. Paying $6,800 to play him. So those are the things to look out for. I'll come back on Saturday with a video, just lineups, basically end of week advice, last minute stuff. So I'll catch you then. Y'all be easy. Make some money this week. Later.